How many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Happy Monday. I lose track of the days.
I know.
But we're coming off the holidays, and I got to tell you. Well, first we got to tell you about Right Side Coffee.
Yes, we really have to tell you that. As he lifts his cup of Right Side Coffee. It's a delicious medium blend roast, medium decaf roast, too. A fine coffee. And let me tell you why it's so important you buy Right Side Coffee. It's because it helps our program out. We get a little bit of the profit, and hopefully we can take those profits and put them back into promotion and help to generate a even bigger audience than we have now. And you'd be kind of helping us out without, we could put a little donation button on our website or something like that. But, Bill and I talked about that. We figured, well, let's give something back to them and let them get something in return for giving us a little help. And Bill came up with this. You are a genius. You really are.
I try to convince myself I'm a really smart guy.
Yes, you do. And do you? Are you successful?
No.
I didn't think so. Anyway, you got to try Right Side Coffee. By the way, when you go to our website, which is rightsideshop.com, rightsideshop.com, you'll see hats and sweatshirts and T-shirts and all sorts of neat stuff, as Bill would say, swag. I like
swag.
That. Not swag. Swag.
It's the Jim and Bill word for swag. It's swag.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you'll find our Right Side Coffee. And you can buy some. It's a very simple process, and you'll have it delivered to your doorstep in no time. Invite your liberal friends over, give them a cup of Right Side Coffee, and who knows, it may even change their attitude and their approach toward politics. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but, hey, it's worth giving it a shot, right? Right Side Coffee.
I think you should invite your liberal friends over, give them some Right Side Coffee and a slap in the face.
You are
kind of a double.
You're in such a violent mood today. Anyway, we also, it's the only coffee in the entire country that has Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers sing the jingle.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Marvelous guys, wonderful. Again, they're a little nervous with each passing day. It gets closer to the new administration, and they're a little concerned about their documentation. So
wait a minute, Joe did not pardon them and give them the congressional or the presidential Medal of Freedom.
He was too busy.
He didn't give them that.
No, he was too busy giving it to Hillary and George Soros. Which is wonderful. George couldn't make it, by the way. He sent his son, Alex, to pick it up. So,
how much more stupid is this administration going to be? Look, they're hell bent on screw Trump. Can we screw Trump some more? Yeah, let's do it again. This is. They didn't get the memo that they lost the election, and in one hand, I'm going, how stupid can you be? But then again, they're going, we still have all these little pieces of power in play, so we're going to sit there and scorch the land any way we can, and that is democracy today. This is the party of equity, inclusion, and feelings. Nothing more than feeling. We don't like you, so screw you. Yes, we're gonna screw you because we're Democrats, and that's the way we work. That's the way they fly.
Well, let me tell you, there's a guy. His name is Joshua Steinman. He's very pro-Trump. He was part of Trump's first administration. He was there actually from day one until the last day, working in their National Security Council, which is, he explains it this way: the National Security Council of the White House, when the president has a policy that he wants implemented, the National Security Council makes sure that the people out in the states and around the world actually follow his policy. They are the people who make sure that what he wants done gets done. And what he's afraid of right now, he put a posting online over the weekend, and he's concerned that the current National Security Council, Biden's, is not working to help President Trump's administration. Meaning, and he's also afraid that some of these people are going to be held over into the new administration, which he thinks would be a big mistake because they don't have President Trump's well-being in mind. You know, they want to see him fail.
I would say that there has to be some kind of litmus test that has to be given to everyone. And, you go, Bill, that's crazy. But, I've gone into places where I've gotten a job or where we had a new manager come in and all of a sudden, some of them were very blunt. Why should I let you keep your job? Well, now I had to think about it. And, you don't have time to come up with a lie. So you just sit there and say, well, here's what and it gives you a chance to weed out the good from the bad.
What he said is he said these people are putting landmines, figuratively speaking, in the road to success for Trump. They're not looking to. They want to slow down his policies, if not stop them altogether. And then
look at the media. Look at the media. The numbers have sunk. The only thing that's going on, possibly in favor of them, is that they want to ban social media. Places like this, they do it in the name of the kids. Well, we got to protect our innocence, but they want to stop the people's freedom of expression and freedom of speech to where it's one narrative that comes out of the liberal media. They're still around, they're still hanging on, and they're sitting there laying the groundwork that, Trump is bad, and they're trying to set up the narrative. What they're going to do is set up these little booby traps to where he gets in office week one. Well, he hasn't done a damn thing he promised. It's just more Trump lies. Well, he's trying to unravel the mess you left him.
Yeah,
he's being left with a mess.
He has said over and over again at his rallies that there's going to be a complete change in his administration. Now, I don't know. I don't know how you can do that. He's got a massive undertaking ahead of him. I mean, I'm going to play cuts in a few seconds with Senator John Thune, who's the new majority leader in the Senate, supposed to be on Trump's side, but he even seems to think that removing all of these immigrants is going to be just an impossible task. I don't know. Trump seems hell bent to do it, and we're gonna find out. I just think there's a lot of the cards that Trump he's holding, and he hasn't shown anybody yet. I think it's a different Trump this time. I could be wrong.
I think you got to go in with optimism. You're going to do what you set out to do, because if you concede to the fact, well, I may not be able to do everything I wanted to do because I've screwed things up so much, then that is the beginning to where once you allow that crack in the door open, they've got a little bit of a foothold to push it wider open and charge through. So he's got to hold that door shut tight as he can.
Yeah.
Where, he may not get it all done, in my opinion. He may not be able to do half of what he said. But the point is he's got to go in there and give a full court press. And I'm going to see who the nattering nabobs of negativism are.
Do you see people who have been doing traitorous things being taken to task in the new administration?
Honestly,
are we
probably
see
not.
Justice? I mean, that's going to be very depressing to a lot of people. A lot of people are waiting, holding their breath right now. They're just assuming that the things that have been promised are going to happen. If these things start falling by the wayside, it's going to really tarnish President Trump's image. Right now, he is the he's their point man. He's the guy leading the charge. If he doesn't take us all the way through, you're going to have millions of people, I think, disenchanted totally with government.
Well, I think they'll be disenchanted with certain factors of government. I don't think they'll be disenchanted with Trump. But then you got the Lawrence Numbskulls of NBC and whatnot that will sit there and give you the left political twist on it. O'Donnell, yeah. Couldn't think of his last name, so Numbskull sounded pretty good to me.
Numbskull is actually more appropriate. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, it is. But and some of the diatribe that he's been throwing out lately, I'm just like going, will somebody take that man's microphone away?
No, it's MSNBC. They'll give him a larger platform, if anything. I don't know what's going to happen when they sell it, Bill. I don't know. First of all, if you had the money, would you buy MSNBC?
If I had the money and I thought I could do something with it, yes. But the first thing that I would do is I would walk in and I would hold a big meeting. And I've been to these meetings before, so I know what they're about, where you come in and they give you the state of the business. And everyone's going, oh, we're getting a raise. We're getting a raise. Hey, guys, we're getting a raise. And then after about 20, 30, 40 minutes, they're going, well, you're all fired. And that's I would forego.
I would
20,
have
30, 40 minutes speech.
I would have a complete staff hired in the background already. I literally would have a whole plan and a whole staff organized and ready to go. And like you said, I would remove them all in one fell swoop and start a whole brand new. And I would literally start doing promotions on air, saying we're the new MSNBC. What we were, we ain't no more. And and you have to define, I think, to your audience that here's what you're going to see in the future. Here's how we've changed, and here's what we've gotten rid of. Because the audience, don't expect them just to catch on. They've got to be literally told. That's what promos are for. So
you got to do contracts too with people. The new people coming in, you're going to have one sour grape in that bunch, and that one sour grape is going to tell they're going to leak some of what you're doing, because to do something like that, you've got to have a crew in place that's ready to take the helm and drive the bus while you get rid of the old and put in the new and get them into place. You've got to maintain, a sense of continuity and keep things going. But there's always one little telltale that you hire that you thought was good that really came in there under false pretenses and is going to spoil it.
Yeah.
That person you bring in and say, thanks for the good work you're doing. By the way, you're fired. You're not getting paid, and you get no unemployment. You screwed us. Screw you. And you don't like it, take us to court.
You gotta have, in my opinion, enough money and resources to do it right in the future. And I don't think right now there's anybody looking to buy MSNBC, because I'm sure they want more money than it's actually worth. It's
it'd
NBC.
Be so fun firing Lawrence O'Donnell and firing Rachel Maddow.
And
yeah,
Joy
I'd
Reid.
love to bounce her. Because. I look back to, what she said about...
They'd all sue, They would all...
Oh, of cource. Well, that's what you do.
Joy Reid would say it was racially motivated, even though it's not. It's totally performance-oriented. But, these people are... That's how they operate. We could go on and on about that. It'll be interesting, Bill. They supposedly are on the market now. I think CNBC is on the market too. I think all of the cable news platforms that NBC has owned are going to be put up for sale. And I'm wondering when I say that, are they going to be forced to change their name? Because right now it's MSNBC. There's a direct link to NBC. Will NBC say, yeah, here's the network, but you've got to change your handle because you're not related to us anymore?
Well, let me explain what exactly they have for sale. They have a name that's been tarnished.
Right.
What does it mean? Well, you got offices that you rent, you don't own.
Right.
You got employees with very high salaries that you don't own them, you just pay them, but you have contracts that have to be bought out. You have a lot of vendor contracts, and you've got no revenue, but you have no tangible assets, is what I'm trying to tell you. Your asset is in the performance of the people that are not performing. So you have a bag of nothing but debt.
Well, literally,
why would you buy it?
And literally, folks, the studios may actually revert back to NBC. They may not even be part of the sale. So actually, even the equipment may not be sold in the sale. It may just be
They don't own the equipment.
The network.
It's leased.
Yeah.
It's leased. So you're picking up a lease on equipment that is probably not the most modern. It might be 5 or 6 years old. Do you want to do that? No, but they got a contract on it that you're assuming. So you're buying nothing. You're just buying bills.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of buying networks, George Soros, who just bought Odyssey, which used to be CBS. By the way, talk about dumb marketing moves. In my opinion, there's nothing more the moniker, the radio moniker of CBS Radio, CBS Network, Radio Network. That had some substance to it. You knew what you were getting. Mm-hmm. But for them to come in and literally these pompous idiots that own Odyssey, and they dropped the CBS. They dropped that. Oh, we don't want the CBS Radio Network, Monica. We'll be Odyssey. Odyssey. People even that worked for the company look around like, what the hell is an Odyssey? But that's what they did. They became Odyssey, and then now George Soros comes along when they were in terrible debt. They were sinking like the Titanic, and so along comes to their rescue George Soros. Now George Soros is in his early 90s, and I'm sure he doesn't give a tinker's darn about CBS Radio. So it had to be a decision that son Alex thought was a good move. And so they bought the entire radio network. Now, so far, it's been kind of quiet. We haven't heard about any changes, any major changes. Mm-mm. But they didn't buy that network just to play music or something. They bought that network because it's going to be a mouthpiece, an arm of their political agenda. And you know what their political agenda is. It is far left. It is globalist. So you're going to start seeing traditional networks, stations that were, once reliable down the mainstream news operations. You're going to see a slant to their, I think, to their product, and it's not going to work out. It's going to be tough.
It's actually already happening.
Really?
You see it in little, I call them public service announcements, but little reminders and even ads that sit there.
Yeah.
And they have, for lack of a better way to put it, a very woke message.
Well, I look at guys like Dan Bongino. I think his program is owned by Odyssey, the terrestrial part. He's a smart guy. His podcast, which is amazingly successful, that's owned by Dan Bongino. And it's making money for him. He doesn't need the radio side to make a good living, which is good because Odyssey, I guess, now owns the Dan Bongino show. So far, they haven't meddled with the product yet, but you wonder how will they renew it? Will they renew his contract? Or will they decide down the road that it's something they want to go in a different direction? No, I keep thinking to myself, if Rush Limbaugh were alive today, would his show be carried by this new regime at Odyssey? And by the way, they own a lot of big stations, folks. A lot of powerful AM stations, a lot of powerful FM stations. They have just an amazing reach, and you got to wonder, would something as powerful? Rush Limbaugh's program was totally unique. Totally unique. He reached 650 plus radio stations around the country. And his stations were not like little stations for the most part. They were major market stations or major stations in medium markets. They were good stations. And
hey, look, back in the day, when you got into broadcasting, you worked for the little, wannabe station, the little daytime AMer, because FM wasn't the big thing. So you worked for the little daytime AMer, and even them had some clout at the time. And then you're sitting there all of a sudden like, in my hometown of Fresno, KMJ, the big NBC station at 560, it didn't have the 50,000 watt signal, but you didn't need it. At 560, at 5,000 watts, covered virtually the state. And they call you up and say, hey, you want to be a part of the crew? that would be an honor. You would go there in a heartbeat because it was NBC, and it was, those three distinctive call letters. You wanted to go there, but it's not like that anymore. And you could have been in a small town, big town, no matter what, you were on your way. But still, getting with an Odyssey doesn't have the cloud of CBS. When you got to CBS, you were there. And if you got into St. Louis, Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco, you were there. You hit the peak.
No, you're right. It's interesting to see, though, where I had an interesting conversation. Actually, I was in a group conversation this past week talking about the future of radio. Now, most of us don't really think much about it. We just hit the switch and listen to it. But for those of us who have made a career and a living in broadcasting, we've seen an amazing transition over the last 35 years. Back when I got into radio, it was an important part of everybody's life. I mean, you got in your car on the way into work, you turn the radio on. Get up in the morning while you were shaving and getting ready to go out to work, your radio was on. It was just there. It was a part of how you lived. And but the discussion we had was that it's, with social media and the internet, a lot of young people don't even think about the radio anymore. And a lot of stations that were once powerhouses and giants and controlled audiences in major cities, they don't have that reach anymore. But I said to some of my friends who were on this conversation, I said, I think that it's not all because of social media. I think that much of radio has given up on itself. I'm talking about management. I mean, they put their emphasis on FM. They have literally relegated the AM to a very small position in their operation, meaning it's become the also-ran part of their business. Oh, and then the AM station, we keep that in the closet. And if you think I'm kidding, by the way, with computers and stuff nowadays, a lot of the AM stations that you even listen to right now are stations that are being run out of computer systems that are in rooms the size of a closet. It's
a broom closet.
Yeah.
That's actually true for big and small. I'll give you
and
my 2 cents.
These were giant stations, Bill. These were stations that you go ahead. You want to?
Well, I was just going to say, my opinion of radio. Actually, radio, in spite of itself and the people that are in it, throwing it away, giving up on it. Oh, we can't compete with this. It's the internet. Actually, the people that, the cell phones are the ones, that smart device right there that you hold.
Sure.
That is maybe the power push of the internet, but, they just want to make sure that you use their cellular service. But that's what they think that they're losing to. In actuality, in the real truth, radio has actually grown in use, but radio, A, has relegated it to a computer.
Right.
B, people, they don't pound their chest anymore, and they don't go out and do things.
Right.
They've given up the ghost, so that they've neutralized themselves to where the ground is almost the same, but yet people still go to it. And it's got the most important role out there that you can have in communication, and they're not stepping up.
Well, it's because it's
the plate.
And it's management. I said to my friends,
Well,
I said, I'm going to tell you something, friends. Here's what you're going to find out. That, yes, the internet is great, and we all like to. Heck, I listen to radio stations that are being streamed from different parts of the country all the time. So I'm still listening to those radio stations, just on a different platform. I'm still listening to the same product, just on a different platform. But watch what happens if we ever get, dare I say, in a situation where we lose the internet. And by the way, one of the friends that I talked to, who's a smart guy, was a station owner. He said, well, fortunately, the internet's been designed so that the whole system can't really go down at one time.
Right.
You
That's
lose
true.
it. You lose it in segments, and that's true. But they're large segments. You might lose the Northeast, or you might lose the Mid-Atlantic region, or you might lose the South, or you might lose the Midwest. You might lose a massive chunk. It's still a lot of people, and you know what those people are going to turn to? They're going to turn to their radio. Even if it's that one that they bought off the internet where you have to crank it to get power, it'll still be the radio that they'll fall back on. That's because radio is dependable. Radio is dependable, or at least people think it is. And I do think that if radio hadn't stopped marketing itself properly, we wouldn't be in this situation. But radio is a business, and unfortunately, it's run by bean counters since 1996.
Bingo.
Yep.
See, that's the problem. You've got to believe in what you got. The people that run it, they don't understand it, so they don't believe in it, and they're going, there's a cost, and there is a cost to do it right, and you can make a lot of money with it, but they want to make that money, but they don't want to pay the cost. They don't want to pay the people, and therefore, it's in the state that it's in. How can we duplicate this programming here and do it all throughout all these George Soros-owned stations? Yeah, we got computers. We could do that.
Bill, on the very basic level, okay, if we're in an emergency, right, on a very, very basic level, I would recommend that everybody get a CB radio. Just have a CB radio in your house, because your cell phone won't work. It won't work. If the internet is down, the cellular is down, you may be in trouble. Now, yeah, Elon Musk has his satellites, thank God. He's a terrific, what a genius this guy is. But still, I don't think you can position them over the whole country.
Well, here's
Go ahead.
here's the thing, since we're talking about, let's talk about telecommunications. They're talking about, they're going to take the overhead wires down. People that have a phone in their house, like I was at the Clock Museum in North Grafton last week, and they're going, oh, yeah, we got a landline phone. Well, the landline phones, per se, are going to go away in the next 5 years. They're going to do away with them, and everything is going to be some kind of cellular connection, but not all. You see, businesses, these big guys that own these corporations going, we can't rely on that. So they're burying massive fiber optic cables underground that are protected, that can carry all their communications, because they want to be able to pick up their phone in Seattle and talk to, their hub in, Hartford, Connecticut.
If you're like myself, right, you may think, well, I got a landline. I got a landline. It's upstairs in my kitchen. It's on the wall or whatever. Let me tell you something. A lot of those, like mine, unfortunately, is connected to the internet. I get my service through an internet provider. So instead of having the old AT&T hardwire lines that went out to the street and they were dedicated just to those phone lines, literally my phone, my landline, which makes me feel comfortable because it's a landline, it goes down to the same box that brings in my cable TV and my cell. And it's not, if we lose the internet, I lose the landline too. That's what I'm trying to say. So
look, I had a station in Philly, and we got our stuff from the studios to the transmitter via, everyone thought, oh, you're on phone lines. And one day everything went out, and I had to run over to the transmitter site and, get the audio there another way. The reason was not because of downed wire, but we were using the fiber optic cables. It was cut by a tractor, and they had to splice in a new fiber optic. Well, the same thing can happen to a landline, but at least it was a small area and not a big region. So there's still opportunity, and there are even
and by the way,
powers that be.
That CB suggestion I made, it may sound silly. I mean, I'm not talking about you putting it in your car and pretending you're CB McCall, and if you don't know who that is.
C.W. McCall.
C.W. McCall, yeah, right. CB was his brother. CW,
he was.
If you don't know who C.W. McCall is, go check online.
Breaker 19. It's a rubber duck.
Yeah. But it's good to have as an emergency backup because, you may have no internet, may have no cell phone. You got to talk to somebody to find out what's going on, right? And even if it's a small area, you'll be amazed at how much information you can get from talking to each other,
We need communication. And actually, CB radios, you're not the only one mentioning it. There are a lot of people saying, get a CB radio. They're 5. You can actually get some that are more powerful. 5 is the legal, but used to be you had to be licensed for it. Now, the FCC gave up on that because there was a big craze in the late 70s because there wasn't internet. That was the internet.
Yeah.
It was regional. You might get 5, 10, some 20,
I
30 miles.
I had one in my car. I talked to my trucker friends, when I was doing my traveling into the
Hell, they had them in the
station.
radios in the car.
Yep.
If you had a Chrysler Cordoba, it had an AM, FM, and CB radio. Breaker 19.
So anyway, we could go on and on, but let me just say one thing. This is a new year, and I do think, by the way, we have 2 weeks before Trump is inaugurated, and in all honesty, friends, I think you're going to feel a full court press to make things as uncomfortable, if not miserable, for the incoming administration and the movement behind it. There's a group in Washington that's doing their best to screw things up. Let me give you today, for example, they're supposed to certify the election. And this is, of course, there's a major snowstorm moving into D.C. Now, the thing is, Congress was advised by the Speaker of the House, stay in Washington. Do not travel. Stay in Washington during the certification process. But did these people listen? A lot of these people, no, I'm going to go back to my district. I mean, and I hate to say this, a lot of them were Democrats. I know you may come as a big surprise. Again, trying to slow things down. Now, they may not get it certified today. And the other thing is this: I saw a video of the Capitol building right now. It could have been this way 4 years ago, 5 years ago, but it wasn't, right? They have large riot fencing around the Capitol. I'm not talking around the building per se. I'm talking about the Capitol property, meaning you can't even get on the Capitol property without going through screening. They could have done this, back in 2021. They could have done it, but they didn't do it. And that, again, points to Nancy Pelosi and her. And by the way, you may say, why do you mention her? She was the Speaker of the House. She runs everything on the Capitol, Anyway.
I think the Democrats were mad, too, because they were doing everything. The media was doing everything to make sure that Mike Johnson didn't get in. And he did. Now they go, oh, he got by a squeaker, though. It's like, it doesn't matter. He got it on the first vote. And they were going, well, what's the problem with why not have Hakeem Jeffrey, the Democrat, guy, be the speaker? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. We fight so hard to take the House, but let's let a Democrat be the Speaker of the House.
The other thing is this:
the Democrats would do that.
Did you watch the counting on this, speakership? And I was, and it was almost like, even on Fox, there was almost a hope that it wasn't going to happen on the first try.
Why?
Because they're not. You have to understand. I really believe this. Yeah, there are some people on Fox who have opinions who are on our side, I believe. But then there are some in the news area that I truly believe are not Trump loyalists. Let's just leave it at that, okay?
I think that there's been enough stuff thrown out there that the Democrats, they want to divide us. Now, you cannot divide the Democrats. They stick together. And they'll even admit, hey, we don't care if we're 100% wrong. We will stick together. Mm-hmm. Republicans are not that way. We're not wired that way.
Like herding kittens. Ever tried to do that?
And Republicans, look, you want to get something done, get it done and unite. You got to divided we stand, divided we fall, united we stand.
Yeah.
Remember that. It was a song, and it was a song from a liberal time.
The Brotherhood of Men, yeah.
Yeah, it's a liberal song it was out at a liberal time, but you know what? There is some good things to learn from the left, and that's one of them. Stand together, stand united. Otherwise, your cause don't mean squat.
Metropolitan Police in Washington, D.C. investigating a suspicious package discovered just 5 miles from the White House heightening security concerns ahead of Congress's certification today. So they found and by the way, I saw a video of the police racing to this area. So it wasn't just someone's lost lunch. Apparently, it was something that they really thought was suspicious. You're going to see a lot of this stuff, folks. False flags. By the way,
distractions.
Yeah, Bill, I gotta take a few seconds and talk about what's going on with this terror attack. The one here and the one in New Orleans, and the one in Las Vegas. I don't know about you, but I have a lot of questions. Okay, first of all, let me start with the one that just hit me like a brick. This guy down in Las Vegas, a Green Beret, who was supposedly a Trump supporter, somebody who was conservative about everything. His family said it wasn't this manifesto that they found conveniently. It didn't sound like anything he would write. It didn't sound like their son or their brother, It sounded like something that had been generated by a stranger.
Well, when I was listening to the news, I don't know if it's still in there. Maybe I misheard. So I'll just say that real quick. But I heard it 3 times because they do news in a loop. And they were reading the manifesto and saying that, that he was MAGA and that he was for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Oh, yeah, I heard that too. Yes.
What?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Whoa, back this bus up. And look, if you're gay, if you're this, if you're that,
that's your business.
Power to you. That's your thing.
Yeah.
But, when you use the phrase and the way the Democrats have wielded it as a power to control you, by the way. It's to control you. It's not to control me. It's to control you and thwart me and you from getting what we ultimately want.
Yep.
And that's personal freedom. They don't want you to have personal freedom. They want their power under the guise of giving you what you want. You're never going to get what you want.
They said also that this guy, he was in a car and it had, even though it had the ability to drive itself, it wasn't in that mode. That was supposedly determined by Tesla
Elon
engineers.
Musk,
yeah. Okay. That's wonderful. That's great. I don't know. Here's what I do know. Something is wrong something's wrong with this story. It doesn't smell right. It smells a little bad, if you know what I mean.
Smells like a dirty diaper.
Let me tell you about the other thing that is driving me a little crazy about this wacko down in New Orleans. First of all, we're told instantly that it wasn't a terror attack. Then, within 24 hours, they came back and said, well, we're wrong. It was a terror attack, and there were multiple people involved, including a woman. Even though he's gone, there's some other people we're looking for. Then, about a few hours later, somebody said, hey, we can't go with that story. Let's change it, okay? That makes sense to me. So they said, oh, no, we were wrong. It's just a lone actor here, and there's nothing to see. We got him, and that's it. Now, we're supposed to believe this. This is coming from the FBI. The same people, by the way, in case you didn't know this, that raided Mar-a-Lago for no good reason. All right, these are the people we're dealing with. Now, I personally think there's more to this story, too. But here's what drove me nuts. And it was a short trip, I know. But this guy, Jabir, right? He lived in a trailer, all right, in Houston. It was a small, it looked like a trailer, a mobile home type thing, And the FBI, as soon as they found out who the actor was, they went in and raided the place, knocked the door down, and searched his property, and then left. And then like a day later, a random journalist got access to that trailer. She's got it on videotape, and she walks into the trailer, and she starts walking around and saying, well, here's his Quran, and right next to it is some Christian readings. Oh, and you'll notice the Quran is turned to a certain page about sacrifice. Oh, and look at this. And she's walking around his trailer with no escort. This would be like going through Lee Harvey Oswald's place after he assassinated Kennedy, right? I mean, that probably wasn't released for weeks, if it ever was even told where it was. So here's the thing. That smells bad. And by the way, then after she goes out and releases her video and her story online about her being in the place and walking around and seeing all his stuff and seeing everything he touched, right, looked like it was set up. It looked like it was set
staged.
up for her to see, right? And then supposedly the FBI figured, we got to go back and get something. Then they went back after she left and got something they missed. I don't know whether they got that. Maybe they saw it from her video. Or maybe they didn't want it to be there permanently. But that smells big time. I mean, you're talking about the premier law enforcement agency in our country. And this is one of the biggest crimes of the last decade. This mass murder in New Orleans, and you're telling me that after a day or two, they just randomly release his home and his site. We don't need to put a tape around that anymore. To hell with it,
Yeah, and why did just one journalist go in there?
I don't know.
And not a flood of them when they release it. Well, if I were a journalist, I'm going in too.
Absolutely.
I'm going in too. I'd be right behind her or right ahead of her. But no. So that means she was the anointed one to go in. And here's what you got to look for, honey. This is what you got to see. Make sure your camera's on it. This is it. She knew exactly where to go and what to do. It was all laid out for. And how did she know what the scripture was in the Quran and what it was open to? Have you ever read the Quran?
When you walk into, when you watch TV and you see that there's been a crime, what do you see? You see in the next scene this yellow tape over the door. And for days it'll be yellow tape over the door. You can't go in. It's a crime scene. This is supposed to be sterile. This is it's against the law. You can't go in. But she had no problem going in. There was no tape on this guy's. Amazing. This is mine, and they expect us to just believe it. Oh, okay. It was released, and he was allowed in, and look at that. That's that guy's Quran, and that's a Christian Bible next to it. Oh, he was obviously conflicted, or he's trying to compare the two. Oh my God, folks, we're being led by the friggin' nose. They got us by the nose. They're trying desperately to spin a tale. At least that's my opinion, okay?
You don't put a Bible next to the Quran, and I should say that in reverse. You don't. When you have the Quran, the Bible is insignificant to the Quran for those that believe in the Quran.
I said Bible. It might have been Christian articles, but
it doesn't matter. Yeah. They're not. It's, that is not a part of the Christian faith. There are over 10,000 religions in the world, all right? Now, if you group all the Christian faiths together, Catholicism, baptism, things like that, you get that number of, they are the biggest, but not by much. The biggest real whole religion is Muslims and the Quran and what, now there are a lot of Muslims that are people of love. There's love in the Quran, but there's a lot of hate and disdain against Christianity. As a matter of fact, we are not allowed anywhere around that.
The other thing I wanted to point out was they showed some pictures, supposedly, from security cameras of this guy, Jabir, planting these coolers that had explosives in them, in certain areas. Apparently, they're trying to reinforce their narrative that it was a lone actor, right? By the way, if I were an actor, I'd be a little upset that that's been confiscated by law enforcement because they've kind of sullied that profession by making it the villain of these attacks was an actor. No, he was a criminal actually. But anyway, the point is, I wanted to point out to you guys, and I know most of you guys who listen to this podcast know this, but for those of you who don't, There's never been a time in our history when it's easier to manipulate photography. I'm talking about you don't have to be a technical wizard to do it anymore. There are software programs out there that literally you can say, put this guy's head on this guy's body, and then you literally can circle the head and drag it over and put it in, and it's there, and it's there. So they want you to believe that all the security footage is absolutely pristine. We got it off the security cameras, and here it is. I'm sorry. I just don't believe it anymore. I don't believe that all of the... It doesn't make sense to me that they would first say it was a terror attack, then they would come out almost with like mea culpa. I'm heartily sorry. I'm so very sorry that we said it was a terror attack. It was a lone wolf. First they said it wasn't a terror attack. Then they said it was definitely a terror attack with multiple people. And they went into a long explanation. And by the way, if you remember, Senator Kennedy, he stood there and he said, I can't tell you what's going on, but I can tell you there's more to this story, and we can't impede their investigation. He was informed, I'm sure, of stuff that never got out to the people. Then somewhere along the line, some fathead, some government bureaucrat somewhere, someone said, no, that's not good for business. It's not good for our government. It makes us look like weaklings if we let the people think that there was a cell in New Orleans around the holidays and we didn't pick up on it, then it makes us look bad. No, that's got to change. This has got to be a lone wolf. It's got to be one guy, and that's what they've done. So I'm afraid right now, for the sake of for a storyline, we're being given the short shrift, as they would say. We're not being told the truth as far as what's happening with this case. And I think, is there a relationship between New Orleans and Las Vegas? I don't know. They both went to Fort Bragg. They both were in the service. I don't know. But I sure don't think that they're being investigated properly. The other thing I'd like to find out is why was the second assassin, Robert Rauch, or whatever his name was, why did he visit 124 times Fort Bragg? I mean, what the hell was he going to Fort Bragg for? The guy who, if you wonder who he was the guy in the hedges down at the golf course who was going to shoot Trump. That guy... Mm-hmm. Why did he visit Fort Bragg 124 times? It seems like a hell of a coincidence that he was... It just doesn't make sense. And the other thing is this kid, Luigi Mangione, now I'm just saying this, think about this for a second. He spent a lot of time in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. Well, so did Routh. Routh was in Hawaii, too. Was there some kind of a training exercise out there? Mm-hmm. Was there... What's going on? You know, was the shooting of that guy in New York a false flag? Was it just to throw things into turmoil? Or I just don't think that. And by the way, I think in the next 2 weeks we're going to see more of this stuff. I think we are not out of the woods yet.
Well, you know, you mentioned Routh. You know, one of the guys that got the Congressional Medal of or the
Freedom,
Presidential Medal of Freedom, he was photographed with Routh. Now, you know,
just a coincidence,
what's
Bill.
Up?
Nothing to see
yeah,
here.
well, yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm making stuff up here.
Yes.
But, you know, you can sit there and make up facts about like a dress and convict a guy 38 times, is it?
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and change the laws,
of course,
to do everything and to say, oh, it's hush money, and it's not hush money. Although, you know, sometimes, let's just say hush money. Sometimes it's easier just to say, here's some money, just shut up about it, all right? It's going to cost me more to fight you than to just give you some money. But the Democrats sit there and encouraged her, and, you know, E. Jean Carroll is a piece of doo-doo. But she's a liberal. So anything she says is true no matter how drunk and senile she is.
And you know what's happening on? I think it's. Let me see. I should look at. Is it Friday the 10th? Mershon is going to sentence Trump.
Well,
Now,
the reason for that is they know they can't put him in jail. They could, but they're not going to. But what they're going to do is just they want to stick some taint on him.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They want to sully his reputation. They want to just give him. Well, the other thing is this. There's going to be. Will people down the road say, "Well, we can't have a convicted felon as the president of the United States"? Well, actually, by the way, we can. You know, there's nothing in the Constitution.
We can, and you elected him, so you didn't care then. Why do you care now? The Democrats think you care. So they're going to do this because, boy, they're ready to sit there and find a way to step in. Well, you guys screwed up. I mean, I've heard so many things about, the 10 best presidents of all time. Well, they're all Democrats. Imagine that. A liberal wrote this story. There was a story about the 10 worst people of all time. And there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, there's an 11th one, Donald Trump.
Well, it's gonna be on, by the way, Friday, and which is perfect because that's when they can sneak out of town. He can have his,
and the news shuts off for the weekend.
Yeah, well, they'll carry it in to the weekend. They'll have discussions on the talking head programs like Face the Nation and Meet the Press, and Sunday morning, whatever. They'll all talk about it like it's a big deal. The fact of the matter is, it's a railroading of President Trump. It's nonsense, and I pray to God. Now, Trump came out with a message on Truth Social, and I won't read it. It's long. You should read it for yourself. He really nailed Mershon. What I found interesting was that he even said Bragg didn't want to bring the charges against Trump, and he was actually pushed into doing it by the Biden administration. By the Justice Department. The Justice Department with Biden, that corrupt bastard, pardon my French, excuse my language, but it's true. This guy wanted to put Trump in jail and was desperate to do it. He doesn't know a lot of things, and he's senile in a lot of ways, but he knows that he hates Trump. Even now, he hates Trump.
He's a mean old mister, to put it in musical terms. He's a mean old mister. And his house needs to cave in on top of him because I'll tell you what, he's done a lot of evil things in time. And you know what? Don't say you don't know. You know. And even if you're conservative, you know. And if you're liberal, you know. You just don't want to admit it because, you feel like, hey, it's all part of our democracy and the democratic way. You gotta sit there and take some bad shots to sit there and win this game. Well, you know what? Every stinking shot you've been taking is a foul shot. You're not playing fair. You're just playing to win.
Yeah, I want to play this. This is a little rough, but this was yesterday, I believe. Biden was talking with some reporters about world leaders, and they're saying this sounds like a guy who is having mental issues. Sundowning. If you know what sundowning is, it's when they get testy towards the late evening, people who have senility problems. This is Biden.
My being the oldest president, I know more world leaders than any one of you ever met in your whole goddamn life.
That was the president of the United States talking with reporters. No filter, no governor on his language there. He just that wasn't me saying that. That was Joseph Robinette Biden, your leader, letting the reporters know they were nothing of any importance. Essentially, they were insignificant.
I'm better than you.
Yep. So, I think that we have a tough 2 weeks ahead of us, folks. I mean, I could be wrong, and I pray to God I'm wrong, but I think
the Biden name was a piece of crap. Even with him taking over that Biden name and pushing forward, but he stuck around long enough. I guess sometimes it does float. You know what I'm talking about? And Biden floats, even though he is an admitted liar. He is a thief. He is a con man. He has done some evil things. He's at times, he's a racist.
Yeah.
And even Kamala called him out on that. And she's no gem.
You know, I had a lot of audio today. I'll play most of it tomorrow. But, now they're talking about the problems that Trump is going to have deporting all of these illegals that are in the country. Now, Trump doesn't seem to be bothered by this at all. He seems to be, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. But John Thune is the new majority leader in the Senate, and they asked him about it. He was on, I believe, Meet the Press, and here's what he had to say.
Incredibly complicated. You need 24 more times ICE detention capacity just to deport 1 million people in 1 year, not to mention more agents, more judges, more planes for deportation. In 2016, you actually said deporting everyone here legally wasn't realistic. Have you changed your mind about that? Do you think it's realistic?
I think you've got... Again, I think you start, and I think this is going to be obviously a process, and it's going to take resources, obviously, to get people, to leave the country. We're going to have to make sure the administration has the resources they need to enable them to do that. Is it realistic to deport everybody? I mean, there's a lot of people in this country who are here illegally. But I think they have identified already, and I said anybody who has committed a crime in this country clearly ought to be on that list. And there are a bunch of folks that over 1 million, 1.4 million, I think, on the current administration's list of people that need to be deported. So start with that.
John Thune wasn't the first choice from this administration to be the majority leader. This is what he's going to run into. He's going to run into there's elements of the deep state that are so embedded in our government that even those that you think might be on your side really kind of aren't,
Right.
And I question Thune. Thune was always seen at Mitch McConnell's right hand when there was a photo op.
Yeah. I have a suggestion for getting rid of the illegal immigrants.
What's that?
I mean, California wants to keep their borders open. They welcome them. Why don't we just send them all to California?
I think it's
close the border.
I think it's a good idea. And Tom Homan, who is the new going to be the new head of the whole move to get rid of these illegals. And when I say get rid of them, we make it sound like we're doing something terrible to them. They're going to send them back to their homes, to where they came from. They're not going. And by the way, these people weren't running away from despotic governments. Most of them just wanted to get on the bandwagon, the gravy train, and that's why they came here. Holman was on TV. They talked to him about what he planned to do. I think he was on Face the Nation. Listen.
When you say criminals, does that mean you are going to go into already existing prisons at local level and deport people who are in those prisons? Are you going to go to workforces? I mean, how do you know where the criminals are, I guess is the question. And if they're working at a work site, are you going to show up to surprise them?
Well, look, we know where a lot of the criminals are. ICE they're great at this work. We know where some are, but they simply haven't been able to go arrest them because of Secretary Mayorkas' priorities. It handcuffed ICE. So we know where a lot of criminals are. They've been prevented from arresting that we're going to arrest starting day one. As far as being in jails and prisons, we would love to work in local jails, but sanctuary cities won't allow us into those jails. It's much easier to arrest a public safety threat and the safety and security of public jail than out in the street, because the officer is safer that way, the alien is safer that way, the community is safer that way. But sanctuary cities who continue to release public safety threats back in the community, to the immigrant community, it puts that community at greater risk of crime. And here's what's going to happen when we go to the community and find that person, find that criminal alien, he's probably going to be with others will have to arrest. So it's not safe for the community, not safe for the officers, not safe for anybody. Let us arrest a bad guy in the jail cell where you chose to arrest somebody and put him in a jail cell, because obviously he's a public safety threat.
Okay. What you just said in there, it sounded like you were talking about collateral arrests. So you're going to target people you know are criminals, but if they happen to be living in a house where there are other undocumented people, you're going to sweep them up too. That's what I think you were just saying there. I wonder how you're going to parse out some of those collateral arrests. For example, will Dreamers be protected? Donald Trump has said he wants to work with Democrats to protect them and give them status. That takes a long time in Congress. What do you do in the meantime? How do you make sure they're not caught up in a dragnet?
Look, every person ICE arrests, they do what we call a fugitive operations spreadsheet. They know exactly who they're going to arrest. They know exactly where they're probably likely to find them, and they have a lot of information on that arrest. Other people that are there that may be illegal, they'll handle by case basis.
Okay.
The concentration, I want to be clear, on some public safety threats. If more agents in the jails means less agents in the neighborhoods. That's why I'm pleading with sanctuary cities. Let us in the jail to arrest the bad guy. That way you're not forcing in the community. So, if you go to an immigrant community and ask them, would you rather have ICE operating in your local jails, or would you want them in the community? What do you think they're going to say? They don't want bad criminal aliens in their neighborhoods either. So let us work with the jails. Let us work with law enforcement. Sanctuary cities are not safe for the immigrant community. They're not safe for our officers.
Oh.
Tom Homan talking on Face the Nation. They talk about dreamers, and they make it sound like they're almost they're American citizens already. Well, first of all, from what I understand, dreamers are defined as, for example, if your family came across illegally 25 years ago and you've grown up in the United States, even though you were born in another country, technically you're an American. You lived here all your life, even though you were born in a foreign country, but you don't have citizenship, and you are here illegally, even though you are here illegally. And I think that there will be probably accommodations made for them. Now, I don't think the left has made it like, they've already made it sound like it's a law that has happened already, and you should,
it hasn't.
Dreamers. They use this term dreamers. The left is so good at putting these nice little labels on things, dreamers. They're still not here legally. We're supposed to be a country of laws. That's like when I see people when they had the riots, and even after the riots, when groups would go into drugstores and clean the stores out, to steal stuff. As long as they didn't take over $1,000, they were fine. You can take $995 worth of stuff. That's fine. So all of the criminals knew it. So they would go in and they would keep a tally of what they were taking. They knew that they were good. I'm good. I'm at $995. We're fine. If you have laws, if you steal stuff, you get arrested, period. We've made the laws, we've watered our laws down so much, thanks to the left and mainstream media, that it's awfully hard to have them work effectively. I mean, if you have a law in place, I even look to, for example, treason in this country. I think you would have a hard time executing a traitor. Now, mind you, throughout history, by the way, and I'm talking throughout hundreds of years, if you were a traitor to a country or some kind of a military operation, it was summary. It was like you were taken out and you were given the firing squad. You were done. But now, in this touchy-feely country we live in now, well, first of all, look what Biden did during his last month of his administration. He took all of those guys on death row who killed some good people, who did some of the most heinous crimes. And this feckless, poor excuse for a leader, Biden, he let them all off. When I say let them off, they took them off death row. So now it's the responsibility of us to feed them and house them and clothe them for the remainder of their life.
Well, now, the ones that have been taken off death row, some of them have got attorneys now, and they're saying, well, keeping me in jail for life, prison, that's cruel and inhumane.
Oh, sure.
So I'm demanding that I get set free. And you know what? In the liberal justice system, chances are it will happen.
Well, if you get a George Soros-backed district attorney, you may see it happen. Judges, too. He put a lot of judges in place. To give him the Medal of Freedom, if that doesn't bring bile up to your mouth, then you're not patriotic.
So why would somebody want to sit there and give these thugs freedom? Is that really?
Well, I think it's all a matter of chaos. By the way, the other thing I wanted to talk about today, Bill, it's all kind of tied in. There's a lot of people now speculating that between now and inauguration time, you can expect a new pandemic, a new virus that is going to make us all wear masks and be locked down. You watch.
Well, there's one virus now, but you can fight it at home. They're still talking about COVID. There's one, I forget what it's called, but basically it is a viral infection that will make you throw up and get you really sick. And it comes from fecal matter and getting to the mouth. You know, a rear end to mouth disease. Come on now.
Well, they're saying that it also affects. God, I'm just telling you what I heard yesterday. Supposedly, it's transmitted by gay men. You know, but the other thing that while you heard talking about is there's supposed to be a virus on the horizon that's going to attack children.
Yes.
Now
there's also the bubonic plague. That all of a sudden now they said, well, we got to get vaccines and get everybody vaxxed for it because it's about to happen. Now, I thought that was locked up at the CDC.
Well, Bill, what did they do effectively in the Trump administration? He had the economy sailing along in the first 2.5 years.
Oh.
They came across with this pandemic, and it was like taking a monkey wrench and sticking it right into the gears. It stopped everything.
Last week, there was this story, and we talked about it. They're saying, boy, you know what? Gas prices are headed down. They're going to be down around $2 or below. You know, it's getting because drill, baby, drill. So what did Biden do? Banned all offshore drilling and, new drilling inland. So in other words, you are not allowed to drill offshore or onshore in the United States is what he's trying to do. He wants to thwart his expansion of the oil. And friends, we're not running out of oil. We're not running out.
I heard some experts say that'll be removed instantaneousning by Trump. That's not something.
But the left is going to anything that Trump undoes. It's like Bannon wants Trump to go ahead and rip the
visas. Yeah.
Well, no, Bannon wants the Freedom Medal that went to Soros to be ripped right off of his neck, which Trump can do that. He can say, those are gone. Well, I think Hillary should be gone. I think Soros should be gone.
Yeah.
And the list goes on down the line. But see, by doing that gives the left media all kinds of stuff to throw at Trump. So he's got to, he's going to have to do something to get back, but he's got to pick and choose. And, to me, the presidential medals of freedom and the citizen medicine, like a medal to Liz Cheney, they don't mean squat to me because what they did to get to where they are, they didn't earn it, and Biden gave it to them in spite. So look, I respect a piece of toilet paper given to somebody more than I respect that medal.
And the left turns around and says, well, Trump gave it to Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh never did any. He did stuff that pointed out the weaknesses and the mistakes in our country and how to fix them. He had solutions. Mm-hmm. He brought a lot of people who were not paying attention to government. He brought them to the right. We'll just leave it at that. He made people think about where things were right now and where we were going as a country and how far we were straying away from the principles that we were founded on, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, things like that.
Biden is kissing ass for his legacy. Let me tell you something, Mr. Biden. Nobody gives a rat ass about you, not even your fellow Democrats. When you're gone, they're not going to sit there and talk about what a great guy you are because you're a piece of crap.
Don't think for a second that Joe Biden ran the government over the last 4 years. This guy, there was never a president who spent more time on vacation, yet things were getting done. And now when I say things were getting done, you have to wonder who was doing them. Who were writing these things up? Who were passing these bills? By the way, when you hear a statement from Biden, do you ever think it's Biden? I mean, the guy, you'll read some eloquent piece of prose and you'll say, boy, he sounds really cognitively fine. That's because it wasn't written by Biden.
Well, and it makes you wonder if there's not a boiler room where they do and they rubber stamp policy. Case and point. You look at the steel company in Japan that wants to buy U.S. steel, is it?
Yeah.
And Biden
Nippon.
said, no,
Nippon.
this is not going to happen. Yeah. So he sat there and did the executive order and signed it. Problem with the executive order, you see, there was a Chinese company that they did the same thing to. So instead of taking the time to write the thing, let's take that and just Xerox it and change one thing here, and then we'll sign it. And they forgot to take the name of the Chinese company out of the header. So I don't even know that it's a legit.
Oh God, yeah, he was trying to. He was trying to put the jinx on the Nippon Steel, U.S. Steel deal. Which, by the way, I don't know whether that's a good deal or not. They've already started doing commercials. You've probably seen the commercials on TV for Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel, stronger together and stuff like that. But Biden is not. This is not Biden. Biden's spending his. Do you know that we've never had a president spend more time on vacation? I'm talking in the history of our country. He's been on vacation like 43% of the time. I mean,
I think it's over the 50% mark actually when you tally it all up. And he lives for those vacations. He's doing such a hard job, though. Trump never worked a day in his life. He was on vacation way less than Biden ever was. But if Trump picked up a golf club, they made fun of his golfing abilities, and they said, he's always on vacation. He's always on vacation.
The guy went from St. Croix, right, a vacation in St. Croix. Then he went up to Delaware on vacation, and then he left Delaware and went to Camp David on vacation. I mean, all he did is it was like the same
Biden's
vacation,
been on a
different
4-year vacation.
Yeah. Anyway, Steve Bannon is not backing down on the ongoing MAGA civil war over H-1B visas, sparked by Department of Government Efficiency co-leaders Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. But I think Steve Bannon has a point. Bannon believes jobs should be for Americans. Period. These jobs should go to Americans, and he also believes that we have all the qualified people we need to do these jobs right here in this country, and he's probably right.
We do, but why aren't they stepping forward, and why aren't they wanting to take the jobs without? See, one of the things happens is they get in and then they want to play this. Let's bat the tennis ball back and forth. I got a job for you. Do you want it or not? And if not, then somebody else in America should step up. If they don't, then you got to go to the visas. Because you can't dilly-dally around with a job like that.
Well, I think that we haven't. The problem is we haven't approached even going after our own people. We've just opened the doors to these people in India and Pakistan and China to come here and to work in our businesses. And this is, I look at some of these people are brilliant. I understand. Elon Musk thinks it's essential to big business. You wouldn't see programs like his space program be effective without these brains behind it. But I don't know whether they've tested this. Do we have? Maybe they're afraid that we don't have the schools pushing out the smartest right now.
Well, what I was going to say is a lot of these guys that they may come here on visas and they get the education, and there are programs to educate these guys more than American people. So it could be an educational process here. Not that we don't have people smart enough, but they have people that are smart specific. And there's a difference between smart in a subject and smart specific. And I'm kind of, giving it that term for the simple fact that these are positions that have very precise, intricate responsibilities, like an engineer that might be some kind of chemical engineer with some kind of plant that knows how to do something. He knows how to do something very well that somebody else doesn't do. Now, if that job goes away, he's screwed. But in the meantime, he is the most valuable person at the plate. A lot of these guys, a lot of our doctors have come from India and elsewhere because they, whether we put the educational sources over there, outsourced it, they got it, here.
When you have colleges and universities giving out degrees and some of the most ridiculous majors in the world, DEI, majors, and stuff like that, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, stupid stuff, basket weaving type stuff. Then you are failing. Not the country isn't failing. The educational system is failing.
Well, that's what I'm saying is we are not investing in our own people, our own native grown population with the education and the tools they need to perform the duties that we're going to have to do going forward.
We make it very expensive to send kids to college. Why don't we make it very inexpensive for the some of these good minds in high school to go get a great education, but make them so that they can't take these basket weaving majors, that they have to go after something that means some substance.
We blow a lot of money, and these educational institutes get a lot of money and a lot of government grant money, but that government grant money means they have to hire diversity, equity, inclusion hires, or they have to hire or bring in foreign nationals and do that. That's where they get that money. We should sit there. I've said it before. I think the whole education system from start to end needs to be redesigned. And I've gone through that before. I think you can accelerate some of the educational process.
Sure.
And include, basic college background to get you when you get out of high school. No, you graduated with a degree. Now, if you want to advance forward, or we can take the people there and advance them forward, and they can go in to get those kind of jobs. I'm not saying you exclude the people from other countries, but we put our kids, our youth, on the same playing field with the same opportunities because they were born here. They do have some sort of, home field advantage, I would hope, in that if they don't do nothing with it, then it's a different story.
Well, I can see. I think Steve Bannon, by the way, they're trying to make the press tries to.
Well, they're trying to divide him.
Yeah, they are trying to divide his loyalty to Trump, trying to create an issue. There's no issue with Steve Bannon. I'm sure they're still close friends. They may have policy differences on certain things, but believe me, I think he has much more in common with Trump than he had with any other person in government. And I wouldn't worry about Steve Bannon's loyalty. The guy spent 4 months in prison for his beliefs, what he thought was honest. So anyway, Bill, I wanted to wrap this one up because we have much. We could carry this show on for 3 hours.
Keep going.
We could keep going?
We could keep going, but I'm saying we have the ability. I haven't even touched anything here, and you haven't either. But
you know what it's doing right now outside of my house right now? It's snowing
like crazy.
To beat the band, as they would say. I used to like that saying. It's snowing to beat the band. I don't know what that meant, but it was a saying that they used to use it. Oh, it's raining to beat the band.
I have no idea what that means, so don't ask me.
Yeah, I guess the band couldn't play in the snow, and it's snowing like heck outside right now.
And the band played on.
Yeah. And so yours truly has to go out and do some shoveling. It's wonderful. Oh, gosh. I hate snow.
Lucky you.
All of my smart radio friends have moved to Florida. I'll be
warmer places.
I'll be talking to people. They'll be saying, "Yeah, we're down here in Fort Myers, or we're in Vero Beach, or these are the guys that I work with in broadcasting, who really were the smart ones. They figured.
Not really. When you get a hurricane and high tides, how do you shovel water?
That's true. Well, but they seem to get through that all right. Thank goodness. And
they come up this way. They
That's
they
true.
Get some then they go back to.
I have a friend of mine who literally does that. Who he moved down 10 months of the year. He's down in Florida, and a couple of months in the summertime he's up at his. He has a summer campsite in Connecticut, and he lives the life of Riley. Yeah, the guy, he knows how to live. And I think he listened to this program, so he knows who I'm talking about. and he's a smart guy. Anyway.
You don't have to say his name. He knows who he is.
I'm not going to say Dave's name. Nope. I don't
No,
know.
don't, no. Hey, don't say Dave.
No,
all
I
right?
would never say that.
Dave's not here.
No, it's true. He's in Florida. Jeez. Anyway.
Sorry, Dave will never rat you out.
No, that's exactly right. Hey, listen, a reminder one more time, Right Side Coffee, it's available on our website at rightsideshop.com, rightsideshop.com. It's a medium roast and a medium decaf roast. Would appreciate you buying at least one package of it just to see what it's like. I mean, it's, it's good coffee, and it helps us out here. We're trying to get a better marketing campaign going in the upcoming year because, look, we have people, the people who put the ratings together say we have around 4 million people who listen to the program during the course of a week. That's a lot of people, by the way. Don't get me wrong. You get them all in one room, it'd be a big room. But the fact of the matter is there are guys who have many more listeners and would like to be in that category in the next year or so. So it may take some promotion. A lot of people don't. We got this far with nothing, just by talking and word of mouth, which we appreciate. And by the way, a lot of our listeners are around the world. People in Russia and in parts of Europe and in Africa and in Asia and in New Zealand and Australia. And you just got to wonder how they found you, but we appreciate you being there. And we thank you very much for including us in your life. It's not something that we take lightly. We appreciate it. By the way,
my German friends say about Right Side Coffee.
What do they say?
Das ist gut.
Jawohl, mein Herr. Also, we have Juan and we have Jose and their band, the Border Crossers, who come all the way from wherever they came from. Did they ever tell you where they came from, Bill? I didn't. Never really.
No, I didn't, and I didn't read the license plate on the bus. Can you?
Oh, really? Yeah, that's true. It's because they so they've been changing it. Guys, if you'd sing the song.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Marvelous. Right Side Coffee. They do that so well. They do that so well.
And by the way, if you don't believe us, believe Dave because he's getting some Right Side Coffee too.
That's right. Dave's down in.
Yeah, he said he's going to order it right now.
Yeah, we don't want to. I have another friend, another radio friend, Bob. He listens.
Bob.
I would never mention Bob's name on the air either.
Yeah, Bob, I think, is buying some coffee today. As a matter of fact, he's going, okay, let me go.
It's amazing. All my old radio friends listening to the program. God bless them.
They're all going to buy today.
Yep.
If they haven't bought it yet, they're going to buy it today.
You know what I find interesting? And I don't know that you've noticed this, but people who are on the right, they have a much easier time communicating with people on the left. I mean, I have friends of mine in broadcasting who are left-leaning people, right? And I have no problem talking to them about everything other than I don't talk politics with them. I talk life and pastimes and whatever you believe about politics, that's between you. I'm not going to change your mind. But on the left, they have a harder time dealing with you because you're a conservative. It's interesting. I just find it's not
think
reciprocal.
You've got brain fog or some kind of.
It's not reciprocal, Bill. The people on the left, they think that you're.
Well, I told you, and I'm not going to go into it now. Maybe some other broadcast. I told you my epiphany over the past week and weekend of what I realized.
We could go into a long dissertation about that.
Oh, yeah, but it's true. It's true, and now people are going, what the hell is he talking about?
That's a tease for an upcoming program. In the meantime, friends, that's going to do it for me. I'm done. It's a wrap for me.
Stick a fork in him, ladies and
gentlemen. I got to go find
Jim
my
is
shovel.
done.
Yes.
Yeah, get the shovel out of here. Until then, until we meet again, hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.